Welcome back to Legitimate Targets, everybody. I hope you're all having a great day. Joining me today is Alex Christoforou. He is one half of the Duran. If you follow him on YouTube there, it's a great show. You should check it out if you're not familiar. Great geopolitical analysis for all corners of the world. And he's also got his own personal YouTube channel that you should check out as well. Lots of great conversations amongst both you and Alexander, of course, and other great minds like Jeffrey Sachs, John Mearsheimer. So thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Thank you for inviting me, Jackson. Great to be with you again. Let's talk about some politics, some geopolitics.
Yes. The first thing, I know everyone's probably dying to hear about Iran, but we got plenty of people covering Iran. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it at the end because there's some Iran news that's, I think, possibly even related to what's going on here. But we'll see. So I first want to ask you about this Operation Spiderweb terrorist attack that Ukraine launched. Trump said as much that Russia's response would be devastating. It'd be ugly. Do you think that this response will still come? And what do you think it'll look like?
Yeah, I think it's going to come. Absolutely. How it's going to come, I don't know. I don't know what Russia's going to do, but they're definitely going to respond. I think they're also going to consider the dirty war, as David Ignatius put it, that is being planned against them. And I think Russia's really concerned about that as well. So I think they're going to take all of these things into consideration. The attacks on the trains. I think it was the attacks on the trains, the terrorist attack, which did kill civilians, that really angered Putin more than anything. Now that we've seen a damage assessment of the airfields and this Operation Spiderweb, it really wasn't as catastrophic as Ukraine and the collective West media was making it out to be. I don't want to downplay it. They hit various bombers and planes, and yes, they took a huge risk going after Russia's nuclear triad, but it wasn't as catastrophic as much of the media and the Ukraine officials were making it out to be. But the one thing that Russia is doing, actually, which is big news, not many people are talking about it, is it looks like they're pulling out of the START treaty. That's how it looks. And this is huge. Wow. This is huge news, and it also looks like they're starting to put the planes under cement cover, and they're starting to protect the planes, because we know that the planes were out there in the open because of the treaty obligations. But Russia's definitely feeling betrayed. I think they definitely feel betrayed. They were abiding by the treaty, and now it looks like they're going to start pulling out of the START treaty. This is horrific news for the world, and Ukraine and the Trump administration, whatever it knew or whatever it did not know, because Trump is saying that he had no idea about any of this. If you want to believe that, this was a huge mistake.
What do you think about that? I mean, Foreign Minister Lavrov this week, he said that he thinks the UK was in large part behind this, but of course, U.S. Special Forces were involved in this. He went on record saying that. Do you think Trump was aware of this? And if he wasn't, how do you think that's going to affect his relationship with either Zelensky moving forward and trying to secure peace, or with Putin moving forward?
I don't have any special information which says that Trump knew about this or didn't know about this. All I can do is put some pieces together. My personal opinion on this is that Trump was told something. I think it's impossible to believe that Trump wasn't told anything. Trump is on record saying he had no idea. So he wants us to believe that this thing was planned for 18 months. That's what Ukraine has said. 18 months, this was in the works. This goes back to Biden when you think about it. So this started with Biden. They were planning this Operation Spiderweb, and Ukraine, which is fully owned by the United States. They have the CIA operations there. They have military personnel there. They have their command center in Germany. They own Ukraine from top to bottom, the United States. And you're telling me that they had no idea what was going on, or the president of the United States was not informed about this, I find that incredibly hard to believe. And if Trump is not lying, and I say that's a big if, then that looks even worse. To me, it looks even worse for Trump to come out and say, I had no idea about an 18-month operation in the country that we've sent $400 billion to and that we completely control. That's even worse. But, I guess he doesn't have a choice. His other option is to say that I was briefed on this and I just didn't understand it. Okay, so you really don't understand what's going on, Trump, when they're briefing you? You didn't understand that they're going after Russia's nuclear triad, really? Or I was briefed on this in full, I understood it, and I still gave them the green light. That looks bad as well. So I guess when you look at all of the three possibilities, you have to go with I had no idea. And it still makes him look bad. But does he have any choice?
Yeah. No, it's a bad situation either way. I think I agree with you. I think it's how could he have not been informed about any of this? It seems very hard to believe. And I can see why the Russians also want to play Trump's line up, because then you're calling him a liar. And of course, there has to be some sort of a measured response, even diplomatically, if he publicly were to have been, or if he had been informed about this. But there will be a response, I'm sure. What exactly would Russia officially pulling out of the START treaty, what would that entail besides being able to put their nuclear jets under some sort of a bunker? What would it mean for the United States and other nuclear powers?
Well, it actually does more. I believe it does more damage to the United States, because Russia has a much bigger and a much more powerful nuclear deterrence, nuclear stockpile. And much more developed as well. It's just basically, I think we've seen from 2000 and I want to say 2001, 2002, from the Bush George W. Years, we've just seen the United States pull out of all of the nuclear treaties that they had with Russia, and the START 3 treaty is what we're talking about here. I believe this was one of the last treaties that they actually had, the United States and Russia. And now the United States is in the dark about Russia's nuclear program, its the nuclear weapons that it may be developing, the nuclear deterrence. And if you're the United States and you're behind Russia in nuclear weapons and nuclear technologies, which the United States is very, very far behind, then this is bad for you. And then you bring in China as well. So, China is also building up their nuclear capabilities. And is China going to even consider getting into some sort of a treaty with the United States? Not after all of this. So I mean, the one country that is really going to be hurt by this is the United States more than anybody.
Moving to the situation on the ground for Russia, there was a report out from all the OSINT military analyst accounts this week that Russia has gained more territory in May alone than any month since late February of 2022. How do you assess the Russian situation on the battlefield? And do you really see this ending anytime soon, given how quick things are beginning to progress once more?
Yeah, it's going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end inevitably, and it's going to most likely be a military victory for Russia. What does that mean? Everyone has their theories on the map and how far Russia is going to go or willing to go, or what Putin is willing to do. How far is Putin willing to go? But the Russian advances, to me, it just shows that the attrition war is working. I mean, it's working. It takes time, but it's working, and we're seeing the Ukraine front line collapse every day. It's getting a little worse, and the Russian advance is getting a little faster. And you are starting to see that Ukraine is having a hard time plugging up the holes. They're having to move various units from one area to another. Then that area is exposed. Then Russia moves in that area. Then they're moving the troops back to the other area. And you can see that they're having a hard time trying to plug up the holes. And definitely you see that their soldiers are not the well-trained military that they had way in the beginning. That's been exhausted as well. I think we're on the 4th Ukraine army by now. The calls are growing to draft the 18-year-olds, even though we are getting reports that Zelensky quietly is starting to send 18-year-olds to the front lines. We're getting reports that Zelensky, because they have so many holes that they need to plug up, that they're starting to use the SBU and the intel service guys to send them to the front lines. I think what we are seeing is the attrition war is finally starting to pick up speed. I mean, that's how it works. It starts slow, and then all of a sudden it moves very quickly. I'm not saying we're at the quick part yet, but I think we are approaching that point in time. And also keep in mind that as the attrition war is working, the terrain is in Russia's favor. They're through all the forested areas. They're through all the rivers. They're through all of the fortified towns and villages, or at least they're making their way through all of these areas. They've got Pokrovsk, they've got Chasov Yar. Eventually, they're going to break through these settlements, and everyone knows that once they break through these settlements, then the terrain is much more favorable for Russia as well. And they're also in Dnipropetrovsk. Mm-hmm. They're in that region as well. And I mean, it's they're not far from the Dnieper. And Alexander is always bringing up a very good point that a lot of analysts are not considering when they're trying to see what the map is going to look like. Is Russia going to go all the way to Odessa? Are they going to go to Lvov? Once Russia reaches the Dnieper and they've got a firm hold of the Dnieper, Ukraine as a sovereign state, as an economically viable state, is over. I mean, you've got a chokehold of their main artery, and you're positioned right on the Dnieper. Ukraine is not a viable country anymore, having Russia right there. So the war could be over once they reach the Dnieper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you think that is the end goal potentially, if we're talking about whether or not there is an end goal in terms of what the I guess the geographic situation looks like for their advances. Potentially also Sumy, based on what we've been seeing recently. There's been a lot of talk as to creating a neutral zone there in regards to protecting Kursk. Do you think that's a potential outcome of the military defeat of Ukraine as well?
Definitely. I think Putin has said as much. We're going to build a buffer zone in Sumy. He said it. So it's a done deal. When he talks about a buffer zone, he's saying that the Sumy region is going to be another region in the Russian Federation. I mean, we know how it goes. He's going to create the buffer zone. Then they're going to probably have a referendum. Sumy will be incorporated into Russia. You can't incorporate Sumy without incorporating Kharkov. And you're also about 300 kilometers from Kiev. And from what I understand, it's a straight highway, just a big highway right into Kiev. I think that how this is most likely going to play out is that Russia's going to continue to advance. They'll get whatever oblasts they're going to get. Let's say Sumy, maybe Kharkov, maybe Odessa. We'll see. But eventually, maybe around the fall, maybe the winter, by the end of the year, Russia will make another offer. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be what Medinsky said in Istanbul. It's going to be 8 regions. I mean, he said it. It's except the 4 now. Otherwise, those 4 are going to be 8. So I would not be surprised if come next year or the end of this year, Russia makes another offer to Ukraine and says, this is your another last chance. It's now 8 regions. At least accept becoming a rump state. At least accept that. That's probably how this is going to unfold. Unless who knows? Unless Zelensky's overthrown, unless he's removed, which is also a possibility.
It is a possibility, and of course, I don't like Zelensky. I don't like this regime, but they say respect your enemies. Well, the power of them at least, and Zelensky, as much of a clown as he is, to have lasted this long, to still have some form of a military fighting, to still have a government that's somewhat intact. I mean, it is kind of impressive. I don't think many people assume that he would last this long, but it begs the question, after this recent terrorist attack on the trains and the air bases, Putin came out and said, who negotiates with terrorists anyways? We don't do that.
Yeah.
And he's obviously said that Zelensky is not the legitimate leader. How do you think this will all impact that future offer that Russia gives them and future negotiations that take place? Is it impossible to happen with Zelensky in charge from now on out?
Yeah, I think that's going to be impossible with Zelensky. I mean, even Zelensky he has not removed, just to give everyone an idea how bad it is for Ukraine and for Zelensky as he's negotiating. He has still not removed the ban on negotiating with Russia. That hasn't been removed, that decree. So we've gone through this entire, the U.S. is moderating and we're the moderators in this negotiation, and the Istanbul talks, which Russia went along with, and they played their part. And Zelensky has still not removed the decree to talk to Putin. That hasn't been removed. But when Putin, I mean, you saw Putin when he gave that statement when he was talking about the train attacks. And keep in mind, he talked about the train attacks. He did not talk about the airfields, which I think is very important. He focused on the train attacks, and you could see that he's had enough. I mean, you could see when you see Putin, when he's angry. He keeps his emotions in check. He's very good at that. But you could see that he's had enough. And you're right. He said that, these, how can we talk to terrorists? And so my guess would be that sooner or later, you're going to see an upgrade in the SMO. Maybe there's already been an upgrade and, we haven't been told about it. Russia's done a very good job in keeping the details of the SMO very, very quiet. No one really knows what are the details of the SMO. For example, it would be interesting to find out for the past 3 years, what were the terms of the special military operation? What was the military allowed to do and what were they not allowed to do? That would be interesting to see what that document, those orders were telling the military, because, Putin is very detailed on these types of things. But maybe you're going to see something like that take place. Maybe Russia's going to start going after the high-level Ukraine officials. That's a possibility. It's hard to say, but I think we're heading in that direction. What Ukraine did and what according to Lavrov, what the UK did, and according to Lavrov, what the US did in inertia is what he said. The US is probably involved, but via inertia, which is an interesting statement from Lavrov. I think it was a catastrophe. And what did they really get out of it? When we take a step back, what did they get? A PR
Lavrov,
media thing, yeah.
He also said this week that Putin was very angry after the attacks took place. And obviously angry, if your air bases and these, nuclear capable jets are getting hit, that's of course, you're going to be angry. But I think any leader, if they're getting seriously targeted in the way that these Ukraine propagandists were trying to make it out to seem, 40% of their nuclear capable jets gone or something, they were saying online. Well, that would be more of a fearful reaction, I think, from a leader. And no one said anything about fearful. They said he was angry. So it makes sense that, he was so focused on these civilian train lines and those being targeted rather than the few planes. I think there were like five of these jets or something like that.
At most, maybe 6. I mean, my understanding is 3 and 3 older bombers. I mean, I'm not down. I don't want to downplay it. Yeah.
3 gone and then 2 that are repairable or something.
That are repairable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I have another question somewhat related to the events of today, very related to the events of today, and what the Russian Foreign Ministry said about the events of today in Iran. They said, this is, of course, a gross violation of the UN Charter. But they said, especially at a time when breakthrough in diplomacy was so close on these Iran talks. How do you think Putin is viewing the past several weeks, months of these Iran negotiations leading up until this point today, where Netanyahu, Trump are saying, oh, it was all a ruse. This was just to make Iran feel safe. We planned to attack them the whole time. How do you think he's feeling about this news and this plan with the Americans and the Israelis, knowing that he's in direct talks with the U.S. right now, and this major terror attack took place, just a week and a half ago?
Yeah, I think the whole world is horrified at what they're seeing, and I think Trump is really he's lost. He's completely lost the plot. His foreign policy is in shambles. I would say his America First policy is in shambles now. I don't see how he's going to be able to really focus on what he said he was going to focus on, which is America First. I think that's coming to an end. He's bogged down he's bogged down in Ukraine. He still has not been able to get out of Ukraine, and he's going to get bogged down if this continues in Iran. But Putin's looking at this and he's probably saying, I can't trust these guys. But I'm sure he was saying that before everything that happened with Iran. The interesting part about Iran is that just a week ago, Trump posted what we've been saying for a while now, which is very obvious, which is that Russia could play a key role in the Iran deal. If there's one country that can work with Iran, if there's one country that can safeguard the uranium, the enrichment, all of these things, can make sure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon, it's Russia. And Russia doesn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Iran doesn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, and the United States doesn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. This was such a slam dunk deal. This was such an easy freaking deal. A 5-year-old could have put together a deal. This was the JCPOA without a 10-year time limit. Okay, Iran agreed. No 10-year time limit. So Trump got what he wanted there. And Russia safeguarding the nuclear program, making sure. And Russia would have done a good job. They would have made sure Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. And everyone was aligned. All the parties were aligned in this. And we were in the sixth round of talks, technical talks, with the Iranian foreign minister, saying things are going well. Things are going really well, the Iranian foreign minister said. Witkoff said everything is going well. This was such an easy slam dunk deal for anyone to make. And in comes the great negotiator. And it's all screwed up now because Trump in his mind, I still haven't understood how he's seeing this or what people are telling him, but he actually believes by doing all this stuff. And when you read his posts on Truth Social, he believes that he's getting leverage over Iran doing this, and he's going to make an even better deal. But he got what he asked. He wanted to lift the time limit from the JCP. He got that. Iran said, okay, we'll make it indefinite. What more do you want? And Russia's going to be on the ground making sure that everything's okay. You got that as well.
I have no words.
Yeah, I have no words for it either. I really have no words for it. I mean, what a tragedy. What an absolute tragedy. What a waste. What a waste of 6 negotiations. And what a waste. But there it is.
I don't even know what the end goal is, too, because, a lot of hardline axes of resistance people, myself maybe even partially included, would make the argument that Pezeshkian, if you're seeking to do regime change in Iran, Pezeshkian and his cohorts with Zarif are kind of the best that you're going to get if you're the United States, unless you just want total chaos like Syria. And you think that, the son of the Shah is going to come back and fly to Tehran, crazy scenarios. But other than that, this is the best you're going to get. So what do they have now? A hardening of the current regime in Iran, I guess, maybe, but also it could fall apart as a result of all of this. And maybe the Iranians will demand more of a hardline leader. I don't understand what Trump is thinking.
It's the neocon school of foreign policy. I don't understand it either, but it's the neocons. They, as we say, they have no reverse gear. Yeah. They've been wanting this regime change war in Iran for God knows how long, 30 years, 40 years. I mean, Lindsey Graham is a Russia hawk. He's a China hawk. But above all else, he's an Iran hawk more than anything else. They've been wanting this, and Netanyahu obviously has also been wanting this for decades and decades, and they're getting it. They're finally getting it. What comes next? If they get a successful regime change, do the neocons ever think about the day after? They never think about the day after, ever. No. For them, let's just do the regime change, and what happens? Democracy. That's what happens afterwards, or what they call democracy. That's what happens afterwards. And then they go on to the next war. But I agree with you. They had a government that was very willing and ready to talk. But they want the entire system in Iran gone. They want it all gone. They want the supreme leader. They want Pezeshkian. They want it all gone. What fills its place? Like you said, Syria. And how's that working out for everyone? Everyone thinks Syria's a disaster. It's a freaking disaster. The news the other day that missiles were launched from Syria into Israel. We're just back to where we were. For Israel, if you're Israel, what did you accomplish? Nothing. It's more chaotic now, and now you have the missiles from Al-Jilani this time, allegedly, most likely Erdogan. But Erdogan likes to play these games. that's Erdogan's style. So there you are.
Ottoman LARPing.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, they didn't get into a better position. They're in a worse position.
Yeah. What do you think? And this will be my last question for you. There's such a weird bit of this story that really didn't get a lot of attention. So Iran claimed to carry out this high-level, highly technical intelligence operation, infiltrating Israeli security networks, getting all this information on Israel's nuclear program. And they haven't released all the information that they claim to have. Some of the information and documents they released, and I'm no expert on this stuff, but it looks legitimate to me, and the stories seem plausible based on what they were releasing. One of the stories in the unreleased documents, but they hinted at, is that Israel's helping an undisclosed European nation develop a nuclear bomb. Now, Israel has obviously supplied Ukraine with support in the past in a relatively limited amount, but still they've supplied them with support and weapons. Who do you think this European nation could be? Could it be Ukraine?
I can't think of another country. Okay, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's Hungary, maybe it's Slovakia. It's not. It's Ukraine. I mean, who else could it be? Who else could it be? If this is true. But, I think, when it comes to Ukraine getting a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb or something like that, I think Russia's on top of this. I think Russia would be on top of this. I would hope that Russia knows what's going on in Ukraine, at least with this stuff. That would be my guess. So, there's a lot of talk about Ukraine perhaps getting some sort of nuclear capability, maybe from Israel, maybe from elsewhere, maybe the UK, maybe France, who knows? But I think Russia would be on top of it. That would be my guess. But who knows? Who knows what games are being played by Israel, Ukraine? I mean, the part that that's really weird about that really caught my attention about the strikes. I don't know. Did you read the story about the fact that Mossad managed to place a truck or some sort of facility somewhere inside Iran, and they launched the drones? I mean, we don't have 100% confirmation on this, but it sounds pretty plausible. That really got me thinking with the airfields operation as well. Once again, it's not 100% confirmed, but if it is true, then I think there might be a connection there. I don't know what you think about that. That caught my attention.
It caught a lot of people's attention. They did release some videos of the drones flying from within Iran being released. I don't know if it, like you said, I don't know if it was from a truck exactly like in the Ukrainian operation, but they did release, Israel posted it. They released IDF, labeled videos and photos and stuff. It was very grainy and black and white, but that did happen. So that's another
That's
another
concerning.
possible link. Yeah. Yeah.
That's if I
Well,
was
Alex,
Russia, I would be like, wait a
yeah.
minute, what's going on
Yeah.
here?
Thank you so much for joining me, brother. Are there any, obviously everyone should go check out your YouTube and the Duran. Are there any big interviews you got coming up or projects that you want to shout out?
We don't have anything going on. We're just covering the news, man. We're just covering the news every day, and that's pretty much all we're doing. We're just sticking to our model.
Well, very good. You guys are the best left on YouTube. So keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Avoid the censors. And thank you so much for joining me here
Thanks.
today.
Thank you, Jackson. Take care.